Before we start, please make sure that you have read the question first. If not, you need to pause the video and read it now. Now, as we can see, there are 3 columns in the table, and the first row indicates the content of each column. State, population of the state to the nearest 10,000 people, and the fraction of Australia's population living in that particular state. The last row has been separated from the rest of the table. Australia, 224. What does that mean? The total population living in Australia. Yes. And we are going to use this several times to answer the following questions. Okay, some information is missing in this table. As you can see, we don't know the population living in New South Wales. We don't know most of the fractions, apart from the fraction of the population living in South Australia, which is 1/14. Why it is 1/14? How can we get this information? Apparently, I think we can use the population living in South Australia, which is 16, correct to the nearest 100,000 people, and the population living in Australia, which is 224. We divide 16 by 224, and remember to simplify the fraction, because both of them are even numbers. We're going to divide both numerator and denominator by 2, and then it's 8/112. And again, both of them are even numbers, so repeat this process again and again, and eventually you will get the fully simplified fraction, which is 1/14. Alright, now we're going to move on to answering the questions. So we're going to figure out if the statements are true or false. Let's have a look at the first statement. More than a third of Australia's population lives in New South Wales. But hold on, what is the population living in New South Wales? How can we figure that out? Can you add the population in Victoria, Queensland, South Australia, etc. up, and then subtract the sum from the total, which is 224, to figure out the population living in New South Wales? I have demonstrated working out here. Please remember, make sure you show clear working out of each single step you have taken to figure out the solution in your assessment. It's very, very important. It's one of the communication in your written assessment. Okay, now we get the answer, which is 72. So the population living in New South Wales, correct to the nearest 100,000, is 72. And we're going to divide 72 by 224 again to find out the fraction living in New South Wales. Remember, you need to simplify the fraction, divide both number by 2 because again they are both even numbers, and you got 36/112. Divide both of them by 2 again, and again you get 9/28. Apparently, the only prime number which go into 9 is 3, while 3 does not go into 28. So this is the fully simplified fraction. Now, how can we answer the question about whether 9/28, which is the fraction of Australia's population living in New South Wales, is it greater than a third or not? We're going to compare these two fractions. How can we compare these two fractions which have a different denominator? We can change them into the same common denominator by multiply both numerator and denominator by the same number. So for 9/28, I multiplied both of numerator and denominator by 3, and we get 27/28 times 3. I kept it this way because it doesn't really matter. You of course can find it out, which is 27/84. But our goal is just to figure out which one has the great numerator, so I would just leave it this way. And for 1/3, we multiplied both numerator and denominator by 28. Remember, the common denominator this time is 28 times by 3, and the numerator is 28. Apparently, 28 is a greater number, so 9/28 is less than a third. Therefore, the first statement is false. It's not true. Okay, I have demonstrated another way here you can use to compare these two fractions. In this case, I didn't change the denominator, I changed the numerator. I leave it to you yourself to figure out how does that work. Okay, before we move on, I want you to think about this question. For the fraction of the population living in New South Wales, we firstly find out the population living in New South Wales, and then we divide it by 224 to find out the answer, which is 9/28. But can you think of another method to find out this fraction? Is there another way to do it? I'll leave it to you, and we are going to continue our discussion on this question in class. Okay, I'm going to give you the solution to the following three statements. For the second statement, it's true. Third statement is also true, and the last one is false. Try to figure it out yourself, and a question we can discuss in class.